Welcome to Dawn of a Story. This is more than a podcast. It's a place where we speak the truth, tell the stories that shape us, and honor the moments that made us who we are. I created the space because I believe storytelling is how we connect, how we heal, and how we remember who we are. Some stories are still being written. Some are full of laughter. Some have changed everything, but all of them matter. Whether it's my story or one of my guests, my hope is that you hear something that resonates, that reminds you that you are not alone and encourages you to tell your story too. So settle in because every story starts somewhere, and this one starts now. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Dawn of a Story. I'm your host, Dawn Pascal. I'm so very grateful you decided to spend your time with me and my guest this week, Robin Andrus. Every show, we will be exploring a new theme, and this week's theme is Beyond the Pause. Today's guest is helping women over 60 take control of their food, fitness, and finances. Menopause isn't the end of anything, it's a power pause, a chance to reflect, reset, and realign with the life that you want. In this conversation, we talk about navigating the changes, challenging the myths, and stepping boldly into your second act. So let me tell you a little about my guest. Robin is a dynamic leader with 20 years in financial services, a career as a plant-based chef, and success as a fitness lifestyle entrepreneur. A former pro bodybuilder, she fuses discipline, creativity, and business savvy to empower others through food, fitness, and finance. She believes that when one area of life is out of balance, everything else feels out of sync. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Robin. So happy to
Hey,
see
Dawn.
you. Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to see you. So let's talk about it. You've lived so many chapters: food, finance, fitness. So, how did you prepare for this chapter of helping women over 60?
Well, it's very interesting because I didn't really prepare, and that's what the problem was. I mean, all of a sudden, my body was changing. My concerns around finances were completely different. And food wasn't treating me the same way it always did. So I actually was a little adrift for a while, and it took me a while to get my footing in all those areas and all those aspects of my life. So I really did. I had an awakening when suddenly my body started breaking down a little bit after years and years of not really paying attention to it in the way I needed to. And the first time in my 60s, early 60s, I needed to have a surgery. Made it through life without any surgeries. And that was a wake up call because I always thought I was pretty aware of how to take care of myself, but suddenly my body was going, yeah, no, not so much. So I had to revisit every aspect of my life. I had to change my diet. I had to change the supplements I was taking. I had to change the way I had been working out and training for years. And I had to revisit my finances as my priorities changed as I moved forward in life. So that's what I did. I took a step back and I took a look at all those areas and in ways in which I wasn't really serving myself. And I had to revisit that and change that.
So you decided to change your Elevate 360 program, a food program that you had in play, and now alter it and change it because your life changed.
Exactly. Elevate 360 was born quite a few years ago, and it was a plant-based active lifestyle uh, company focused on just really food and fitness and helping people transform their lives. And all different ages, all different people, men, women. And then we relaunched it so that now it's not so much preparing food, but I'm guiding people on proper nutrition. And it's really Elevate 60 plus right now going forward. I've really narrowed down the scope to women over 60 who are looking to reinvent themselves and make the next chapter just as filled with fun and fulfillment and achievement as previous chapters in our lives have been. One of the things, especially in American society, we are a culture of youth and beauty,
Right.
and we don't see beyond the physical. And so women in this cohort are really the most unseen people, the most unseen group in our society. And I don't think that's fair. And I think society loses out. So I'm not just looking to help women over 60. I'm really looking to change societal norms and help others see the value that we bring to the table.
And I think it's an amazing thing that you are focusing on this. I've seen so much social media and so much buzz around the menopause age and aging, obviously, especially for women. So I'm I'm grateful to you for doing this because I know that this is something that we absolutely need. And I know that food has always played an important role in in every season of life. So how has your idea about food changed now that you're looking to catering to a different class or a different age group?
Well, for one thing, what we have to focus on is a little different than previously. As a woman getting older, our bodies don't metabolize nutrition the same way. So we have to be a little more proactive in planning our meals and planning our nutrition. It doesn't have to be boring. It's very interesting. We need more fiber and more protein
Mhm.
as we get older. So I really try now to incorporate those two things in every meal, everything I put into my mouth. Now, of course, you're allowed to cheat here and there, so I'm not going to say I don't do that on a regular basis because life shouldn't be about deprivation.
Right,
But you just have to be holistic. So if you want that donut, if you want that ice cream, that's fine as long as it's the exception, not the rule, and you're being very cognizant of protein and fiber, which helps fill you up, which helps aid your metabolism and helps move, keep things moving.
right,
So that's something I didn't do before. I am a plant-based eater, so I always thought, hey, I'm getting lots of, healthy foods into my system, but I may not have always gotten enough protein. I didn't feel I had to focus on that. And honestly, I don't believe that as, up until 60, like as long as you're eating clean, we have this obsession about protein. I don't buy into that. And I'm
right,
not saying you have to get a lot of protein. In fact, I don't think what you hear the hype about is really accurate. You just have to focus on it. You just have to make sure you're getting it. So that's how I changed my food intake so that I could be sure that I'm full longer, I'm sated, and my body's working at optimal capacity because I'm getting enough of those nutrients. I also revisited my supplements. I've always been someone who took vitamins and other supplements. And one of the things I realized that just because your period stops doesn't mean your cycle stops. So while that's so I started investigating supplements, natural remedies that could help me avoid having to go on hormonal therapy,
right.
and I started incorporating some of those into my nutrition and more focused on omega threes. Four, five, six, and sevens to make sure that my joints and my fascia, the connective tissue,
Mhm.
is lubricated and healthy and getting the nutrients it needs. Of course, as we get older, we get a little achier and a little more, it takes a little longer to reset ourselves when we stand up out of a chair after we've been sitting for a long time, as an example. So I incorporated, say, glucosamine and chondroitin into my supplement regime as well. Now, everybody's different. I'm not saying this is what everyone has to do. That's one approach I take is that there's not one size fits all. And you're not going to get it like that. You might have to try something. And if it doesn't work, then you try something else. But the important thing is not to stay stagnant. We're growing and changing, and so does everything we have to do in the form of self care has to grow and change as well.
Right. No, absolutely. And I know a lot of it is a mindset shift as well. We started out our conversation talking about you had an aha moment where you had to have surgery. How much of the mindset shifts played into the surgical procedure that you had to have?
Well, it was very interesting because never having had surgery, well, I didn't know what to expect, and I had my husband has had like 2 knee replacements. So I've seen the worst of the worst, and that's what I was
Right.
afraid I was going to go through. Luckily, what I had was very minor. It was in and out, and my recovery was great. But it's definitely a mindset because the first thing you start doing is, for me, I sort of self berate, like, oh my God, all those years I was doing this movement and I thought I was helping myself, and really I was tearing myself down. And why didn't anyone tell me this? Where was this information? I thought I kept myself up to date. So I
Right.
started beating myself up because that's my personality type. And then I realized, well, that's not going to help because that creates a toxic environment inside.
Right.
So I did the research. I found out what it was about. I got myself as prepped as possible. I made sure I had everything I needed to make sure that my recovery was going to go smoothly. I got all the pillow that they say you have to put under your feet. I had my living room set up so I didn't have to move around a lot. I don't live in a huge house. I don't have to deal with stairs or anything. And I just took the downtime after the surgery and made the most of it
Hmm.
because it's not my natural state to sit around and just do
Do
nothing,
nothing.
stare at the wall. Yeah, do nothing. But I wasn't doing nothing. I was getting healthy. So I made the most of that. And I realized, like, within like 10 minutes, I was like, well, this is kind of a luxury just to sit on the couch and not worry about my to-do list
Right.
or yeah. So that's really what I did the first week was I allowed myself. I'm like, well, I really had to allow myself to just heal and focus on the healing. And I think uh, that took me a long way in recovering in a very rapid manner and really getting back to full range of motion and abilities pretty quickly.
Well, I know that you've always been very much into fitness, and obviously you're a former bodybuilder. So, how can you help women in their 60s redefine strength for themselves without falling into old fitness myths?
Not just old fitness myths, but this need to feeling there's a right way to do it and I have to do it that one
Mhm.
way. The thing that women over 60 or anyone who may have not been into movement, because it can be walking, it can be riding your bike, it could be, there's so many ways you can incorporate movement into your life. And I would say consistency, 10 minutes is better than no minutes.
Right, right,
And if you just do 10 or 15 minutes of anything, whether you're watching TV, you get on the floor, you do some sit ups or you take a walk where to the store where you may have driven, or if you live in a place like my building has an elevator to the garage or stairs, I would start walking up the stairs as opposed to taking the elevator up. Little things like that, and just stay consistent. Don't feel like you have to change everything all at once because then you're never going to do it.
right.
Just every day say make choices, not good or bad, because I don't like that either. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's, is this going to get me closer to where I want to be? And if that's not going to do it, then I don't want any part of it. So just make the choice to get you closer to where you want to be and take little baby steps and celebrate your wins. If you've done 15 minutes of movement 3 days in a row, celebrate, not by having a piece of cake necessarily, but maybe buying that cute little, whatever that you've had your eye on for a while, or, rewarding your with a little mini vacay at the spa or whatever it is. But celebrate, stay consistent and celebrate your wins.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
And absolutely back to your earlier comments and say nice things to yourself.
You have to be kind to yourself. It's funny because I was always very competitive and I always was very rough on myself. And I remember a friend told me, they said, would you talk to little Robin like that?
Wow.
And I didn't know what they meant. And they said, well, imagine yourself as a little girl, say you're 6 or 8 years old, and you did that thing that you're now beating yourself up about. Would you talk to little Robin like that? And so that stayed with me because we're sometimes, especially as women who are driven, and the society to be perfect or be successful or be the best mom.
Right.
If you listen to yourself talk, you realize you're kind of abusive, to yourself. You
Right.
would never talk to your children like that or your sister like that or, someone you love. So start there. Start treating yourself as well as you treat the other people in your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with people where the same topic comes up. So much about our internal dialogue of what we say to ourselves, sends us down the road to go run to buy that donut, but that perpetual negative, feedback and loop obviously is never good for us. It's never good for anybody.
Right. And it's interesting because I read a lot of studies, and everyone wonders how French women stay so thin when they eat all those rich sauces and they have pastries for breakfast. And the thing they don't do is beat themselves up after it.
Wow.
And I think that that mental state changes your body too. So your body reacts differently. It listens. It's very intelligent and it listens to what you're saying to it. So if you eat something that's not on your plan or you weren't planning on doing because you're trying to do different, and then you beat yourself up, well, then why'd you bother? Like, if you
Right.
enjoy the donut, say that was delicious. Okay, I won't do that again till next week. Done. Move on with your day. Don't beat yourself up and feel guilty. Or on the other hand, go, well, screw it. I just, blew the whole thing. So I'm also going to have a pint of ice cream now on
Right.
top of it.
Right. Right.
Don't, yeah, I may as well. 'Cause, I mean, we've all done that.
Yeah.
And the best thing to do is just enjoy it if you do fall off the wagon and just get back on. And that's the end of the story.
Obviously, we know that menopause is a mindset shift and change for all of us, also a physical change. But if we're going to put a complete positive spin on it, how do you see that as a power pause for women to step into the next chapter of their life?
Well, the first thing I would say is that we have a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom and a lot of knowledge that we've achieved over the course of our lives. And that is a gold mine for ourselves and for others. And don't buy into the societal norm that you don't have anything to contribute. So, what I would say is, you have to ask yourself, so what do I see myself doing now?
Mhm.
How do I want to feel every day? Because for a long time, I was asking myself, do I have anything to contribute? I felt like, did I have any creativity anymore? Is creativity like ovaries? Do you only get a certain amount? And then when it's
Right.
gone,
Right.
is that it for you? I mean, really, that's where I was. And then I had this business, Elevate 360, that COVID killed.
Mhm.
And so I really was at a loss as to what to do. And then I kept hearing from my friends who were in my age group talking about these issues. And I realized that this is a way I can contribute. I can talk to the people like me because there aren't a lot of resources, and tell them that the second chapter is like, it's almost like going back to college. You when you go to school, you have to figure out what you want to major in, what courses you want to take, what's going to resonate with you. And I would say that that's what you can do with the pause. If there's any pause in the pause, that would be it. Step back and decide how you want to feel every day, and then find the things that will give you that feeling on a daily basis.
This next chapter, I'm not gonna lie, the shift has been challenging at times. But you're right. Again, if you take a step back and you say to yourself, "Hey, what do I want to do this time around?"
Hmm.
and be happy and grateful and thankful and kind to yourself, you'd be surprised. I felt like a lot of what I'm doing now just sort of bubbled up from a happier place, as opposed to, I need to do this because this demand or that demand, or I'm putting this exorbitant amount of pressure on myself to meet sometimes unattainable goals. So this sort of rebirth and next chapter seemed to come from a happier place and and an easier time
Well,
making
not
it
only
happen.
that. Exactly. Another thing is when we're human beings, right?
Yeah.
But in our most of our life, we're really human doings. We're
Right.
doing things. We're building the career. We're taking care of the family, whether it's kids or aging parents. We're uh, striving in society. So we're very active. Maybe we're participating in philanthropic efforts where we're going, we're doing, we're here, we're there. As we get older and the body changes, we really segue into being. And really, that's what we should strive for, even in every age. But now we have more of a reason to be a human being and just be with yourself. and get to know yourself again. It's a great opportunity to become your own best friend again and
Yeah.
to find out what really resonates with you. Do the thing you never did. I have a friend who just retired from an educational career after 23 years. She's taking a yoga course, not just a class, but a course. Never, always wanted to, never had the time because she had her day job. And then at night, she was doing theater. She was into theater and she was directing plays and musicals. So she was working, doing her hobby, and had a relationship, had a marriage. So that was, you can only do so much.
Right.
And she's so looking forward to this course, which starts in September, and just being open to whatever life will bring you. So, like you said, you have to just be open, you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to listen. You really have to listen more than try to force anything. And listen to your feelings, listen to what it is that really makes you feel good, and then do it. And realize that whatever it is perfect. It's just fine.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it. Even if it is just sitting in your backyard and reading all the novels, all the trashy novels you never got to. Nothing wrong with that if it resonates with you, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
It's so interesting that you use the term human doing versus human being, because that is something that I have said my whole life. I'm very much a human doing. I have a hard time not doing something. And it doesn't mean that I always have to be doing something, but I have a list. Majority of the time in my life, I've
Of
always had a
course.
list and I've always have multiple things on that list. And I'm usually doing multiple things at a time. So to get to this point now, literally to your point exactly, the the shift to just being happy and having this sort of up from that happiness makes me feel like I'm being myself. I'm being open to, lovely conversations with friends of mine and other people that I admire, and putting out there a different vibe than what I've really
And
done before.
I'll tell you, the mic looks good on you,
Thank
Dawn.
you. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Robin.
And another thing is find your community.
Right.
That's another thing that changes as we get older. Our community changes. I would say, especially, find your community. If you're not on social media, I get it, but there's a lot of people like us out there, I think maybe the pendulum's swinging a little more because the boomers are the biggest group of, biggest generation,
Right.
and they're aging, and the Xers are aging. So there's a lot more people out there that look like you and me
Right.
and are having the same concerns, and you don't feel like, oh, is it just me, am I alone? A lot of times I always think, oh, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening to me? And then I talk to friends, men and women, who are like, oh my god, my legs just aren't doing what they used to do, or oh my god, everything hurts. And so it's just a natural part of the aging process. And you learn from others as you seek them out, whether it's social media or live in real time. But find your community, find your tribe, and participate with them at whatever level it's comfortable for you, even if it's just online and looking at, people's Instagrams and seeing the 89-year-old who's still running marathons. It might be 2 miles an hour, or whatever it is, but she's still out there doing her thing. Or the other women in our cohort who are just putting out content being like, I don't care. I'm just doing this. I have nothing to
Right.
lose. I don't care anymore. And that, I think, is a big thing for us. We don't have to care anymore. Who cares what people think? Who cares what people say? We've survived so much. We've survived 100% of the bad things that have happened to us in this life. So we don't have to care anymore. We can just be free to be ourselves. I mean, I love it when I see a woman in her 70s with purple hair. Would
Right.
I do that? Probably not. But you go, girl,
Well, maybe one
right?
day you will. You never know. You never know.
That purple might look good. I think I might be able to pull off purple.
I think you could. I think you could. It's interesting that you use the term that we don't care, because I have been following Just Being Melanie and the We Do Not Care Club.
Me
And
too.
there have been times when I have watched her posts and literally laughed out loud, to the point where I was drinking a little bit of coffee, spit it out all over my laptop.
Uh-oh.
Was watching a post at another point in time and literally just burst out hysterical laughing and couldn't really let it go for the whole day because it just so resonated, and then commenting on a lot of her posts and reading just other people and the way that they've joined her community, and it really is hysterical, and it's great. It's great.
And she's blowing up. She's blowing up because
Right,
that's the message, and it's resonating with so many of us. I read she's gonna do retreats. I mean, it's
right,
blowing up. And another thing I just wanna say, in a way, menopause is almost like adolescence.
right.
Like when we got our periods the first time, our bodies changed, hair started appearing in different places. It's happening now again. Our bodies are changing. So it's almost like a second adolescence, and that was an exciting and scary time. And it led to some amazing things. And I would say that menopause is the same thing. It's exciting, it can be a little scary, but it can also lead to some amazing things.
When I think about everything that's changing in the phase of life that I'm in now, I don't have my mother to guide me through that. Whereas, to your point about talking about adolescence and your body first changing and hormones and that phase of life, I had my mom there that sort of guided me through that. So I think that it's great that we are part of a community and we are part of a cohort and that we are getting advice and guidance and from other people who are all going through the same thing together.
It means so much, just even if there's no solutions and no fixes, like if
Right.
you're not getting answers, which, of course we always want,
Right,
but
right.
just to know you're not alone,
Alone.
that in itself is like medicine. Like,
Right.
oh my God, you're going through that too? I thought it was just me.
Right.
So I think that's like money in the bank just to have that.
Absolutely. So we've talked about food, we talked about finance a little bit, so let's talk about finances. What
Okay. Well, as we get older, I think it's important to have regular check ins on your finances to make sure everything is where it should be. And then, so it's first of all, it's awareness. I think, again, as women, a lot of us weren't taught how to manage money, how to invest, how to take care of ourselves in the long run, so that we are able to live a life that we love and can actually afford, because that's really what it's all about. We
Right,
might not have millions, we might not be able to take all the trips that we want, but we want to have enjoy life and we want to be able to afford it. So I think that, one of the things I advocate is every week do a weekly check-in. Set a small goal for yourself so you can treat yourself. Put that money away, even if it's $1 in a sock, every couple of days. Make sure you're putting a little bit away just for a treat for yourself so that you can actually enjoy your life, whether it's buying yourself something or going for that facial or whatever it is. Make sure that you are putting something aside so that you can enjoy yourself. Make sure that your investments, for example, in our phase of life, we're not investing as much, but we may be withdrawing. Make sure you're withdrawing strategically so that you don't get slammed with taxes. If you need to take a withdrawal or you just decide, that's it, I'm done, I'm going to start taking withdrawals from my investments so I can live my life, make sure that you're strategic about them. Make sure you have a good professional on your team and that you're very strategic about your withdrawals, that you're doing regular check ins to make sure you're on track, and that you're putting a little, I call it a fun fund, that you're putting something aside so that you can treat yourself to something you really love, whether it's big or small. And so it's really, in this phase of life, it's about the withdrawal strategy and being very cognizant of the tax implications of everything you're doing. Because you can save yourself thousands of dollars by withdrawing intelligently.
right, absolutely. So for our listeners today, and maybe someone is feeling overwhelmed about this new stage of life, what's one small step that you could give them as advice to feeling more empowered?
I would say move. Just get up and move. Go take a walk. Walking is therapeutic for your mind. Walking is therapeutic for your body. I would say get outside if you can in nature and just take a walk and take the pressure off yourself. Just try to enjoy what's right in front of you. Notice the little things and be grateful that you're above ground.
Right.
So gratitude. getting outside, movement, and gratitude. Those are the three things I would suggest. Like, instead of focusing on the body parts that hurt or aren't working, focus on the things that are working. Understand how lucky you are to have those aches and pains, because first of all, it means you're alive. And second of all, focus on the things that still feel good.
Right.
You know, even if it's like, I have the greatest eyelashes, whatever it is, whether it's your hair, whether it's the fact that you never had to be on heart medicine, that you've made it this far and your cholesterol is low, whatever it is. I mean, be grateful for all those things, because it's all those things that make up life and that we have to be grateful for. So I would say gratitude, movement, and getting outside in nature.
Yeah, we take for granted celebrating the small things. We always seem to focus on it's a milestone birthday or, oh, I just did this big achievement. But just celebrating just the little tiny things throughout life really help to create that positive strand of just feeling good.
Yes. I mean, even if it's like, oh, yesterday my left hip was really killing me, but today it feels great.
Right. Yay!
Today woohoo! And we're making fun of it, but it's really important
Right.
to do that and to celebrate getting to this point in life and look around you. I have friends now I've known for 40 something years. I mean, that's incredible. We met as teenagers, and we've lost touch and we got back in touch and we lost touch and then we're back in touch, and it's just awesome. So like, you can't have that in your 20s.
Right.
That's the only that only comes with
With
age
age. Right.
and with age. So celebrate the things that age brings you. If you have family, if you're watching the next generations come up, if again, I would say celebrate the things that we have in this part of our life, whether it's a niece or nephew's wedding, whether, again, it's friendships for years, whether it's knowledge that makes you get through the day a little easier. For example, not feeling so bad about what you don't have, because at this point in life, like, I think when you're younger and you don't have things you think you should have and you think you should still get them. But at this point, you're like, well, that's never going to happen. So I may as well not worry about that anymore. And it's
Right.
really liberating. I mean, liberate yourself of all of that old baggage that wasn't really good for us in the first place, but now has absolutely no place in our lives.
This conversation has been so enjoyable for a multitude of reasons. You and I met a couple years ago when I had my bakery, and we met under those circumstances, and now we're back together meeting under these circumstances. So I'm so happy for you that you are celebrating this next chapter and also providing a program and an outlet and guidance and support for all of us. It's great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And it has been wonderful. I mean, when I first met you, I was in awe of you, Dawn. You
Oh,
had achieved, I mean, prior to that, you had a whole nother career,
right.
as did I, where we were successful. And then we both had this passion and this dream. And when I met you, you were in the deep throes of it. And I just thought what you had achieved was so
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
And I know that anything you put your mind to, you're going to knock it out of the park. And I'm excited to see this next journey of yours. And that's what I would say to your viewers is it's never too late to be great.
Oh,
And the definition of great changes for as we get older. So what does that feel like to you? What can you see yourself doing? But it's never too late to be great. If you always wanted to if there's a skill you always wanted to develop, do it. Like, whether it's baking or cooking or anything with technology, go take that class or get on YouTube. There's so much information out there at our fingertips, and we don't even have to leave the house if that's getting harder and harder to do. That everything can come to us. So there's no reason to be lonely or bored or sad as a way of life. We all go there, but don't stay there. Remember, it's never too late to be great.
Robin, thank you so much for all of your kind words, and I'm equally proud of you that you have stepped into a new chapter and that you've used all of your years of experience in all of the different facets of former corporate and food and former pro bodybuilder to be where you are now. So, congratulations to you too. I'm very excited for you. This is great.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate that.
So before we go, I ask every guest the same question because I believe the stories we leave behind say so much about how we showed up in the world. So tell me, Robin, what's one story, big or small, that you hope people remember you for?
Oh, I'm glad you gave me an easy question, Don. One story, I would say that recreating yourself. That's something you mentioned that earlier, that you can always recreate yourself. You can always find something inside that you can bring to the table that someone else might be inspired by. You may never know who that is. So, as you said, when I was left corporate, I said to myself, what are my passions? As I'm doing now in menopause, pre-menopause. I said, what are my passions? Well, being a vegan, I love fitness. And so that's when I became a vegan bodybuilder because I wanted to prove that you don't need meat to build muscle. I was also in my 50s at the time. And most bodybuilders don't start in their 50s. And
Mm.
again, I wanted to get myself in the best shape of my life. I just needed a goal. I was a triple type A. I needed something to achieve. And I did that. And it was rewarding. And the thing that happened was my stepdaughter, a friend of hers, happened to be competing on the same team as I did. And what happened was she showed her mother my pictures of me, in competition shape. And she's like, Mom, this woman's your age. If she can do it, you can do it. And when she told me she did that, now this is someone young enough to be my daughter, that I not only inspired her and her future goals and motivations, but she also I inspired her mother, who is my own age, and her goals and motivations, and let her know that if I can do it, you can do it. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. So that's the story that I find most rewarding.
Oh, Robin, that's such a
Mhm.
beautiful way to end. And thank you for that. And thank you for sharing everything today and being part of the story. Thank you to everyone for tuning into this episode of Dawn of a Story. If something you heard today moved you, made you laugh, or made you think, share it with someone you love. Please like and subscribe to the show. And if you're feeling brave, I'd love to hear your story by commenting below. It helps other story lovers find us too. If you want to learn more about Robin and her fabulous new program, please visit her Instagram account. That is Elevate 360. That's Elevate 360. I will also put that in the show notes. Until next time, keep listening, keep sharing, and keep telling your story. Thank you, Robin, so much. It was so great to see
Thank you,
you.
Dawn.
Thank you.
Same here.